Welcome back to the Preppy podcast. Thank you all so much for listening and being here today. As always, I have a fabulous guest on today. It is Jennifer L. Scott, who I actually had the pleasure of meeting in person at a Hoffman Media event over the fall, and she is just as fabulous as her books are. Some of you guys might follow her on YouTube. She has an amazing YouTube series. She's a best-selling author from the New York Times, and she just is full of great tips for living a stylish and well-lived life. I really enjoyed our conversation, learning all about how she wrote her first book, learning all about why and how she started her YouTube channel, some tips for growing and nurturing a community, which is something that I try to do here. And I just had an all-around wonderful conversation with her, and I hope you guys will enjoy this episode as well. But before we get into today's episode, just a few reminders. There are only like 2 tickets left for Camp Preppy Hamptons, so go to thepreppypodcast.com and get your tickets now because they will sell out and you do not want to miss that fun event. Next week, it's crazy to say, I am heading to Dallas for Camp Preppy Dallas. That event is sold out, and I am so excited to share with you guys all of the fun that we make there in Dallas and the amazing brands who have supported Camp Preppy. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following on social media, and let me know if you would like to join our new monthly membership program. It's basically, I'll talk a little bit more about this when we announce it, but we've had a lot of requests and the community is so alive within our Camp Preppy group chats that I thought it would be amazing to do like a monthly series where each month we would do some virtual activity for members and then also offer them in-person meetups and events as well throughout the year. These would be like smaller and less structured than Camp Preppy, and members would also get first dibs on the Camp Preppies. I'm planning another one for fall, or I guess September, if you consider that fall or summer, and then also November. So lots of fun things in the works. I'd love to hear from you guys though. Let me know like what you're looking for from the podcast, what you'd like to see, some of the things that you love, some of your favorite episodes. I love hearing from listeners. So feel free to DM me or shoot me an email. All right. So why don't you first let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Jennifer L. Scott. I live in California, but we also often divide our time between California and the English countryside, where my husband's from and his family's from. And I write books. I wrote the Madame Chic series, Connoisseur Kids, and then I have a new book, The Daily Connoisseur's Guide to Living Well at Home. And I also have a YouTube channel too that I've had for quite some time. Been on YouTube like almost from the beginning, like
Wow.
15, 16 years now. So that's what I do and I love it. So
That's so amazing. And I had the pleasure of meeting you and hearing you talk at the Hoffman Media Gracious Living Celebration in Charleston. And I love, your energy. I love, I feel like we're like kindred souls in a way, with an appreciation for, slowing down and appreciating almost like past things, whether that's hosting or some great hobbies, and just making every day special. So I'm so excited to chat with you today and learn more about you. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about you as a kid. Were you someone that, had these inklings of wanting to entertain, or maybe were you someone writing books when you were little? Were you helping your mom set the table? Like, tell me about your childhood.
yes. So it was always in me, and things happen and you go through the teenage years, but I loved dressing up. I have a lot of pictures of me in my Jessica McClintock dresses and my tights and my patent shoes. I loved dressing up. I loved fancy things. There were a lot of homes that I visited when I was a child that were really spectacular. My own home, our family home is very humble, but I really gravitated toward beautiful interiors and I loved that. And I did want to be a writer when I was a kid. I did write. I used to enter writing
Oh
competitions.
wow.
So it's so funny as a child, the seeds of who you will become are there.
Mhm.
So definitely, yes, it did start when I was a child.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I asked that question is because I do find when we look back that there are so many of those seeds already planted in us when we're younger, and maybe sometimes it takes us a while to go full circle and get back there to our roots. But when you reflect, you see a lot of similarities, right?
Yes, I just found a book. We never throw our books away. So if I hoard anything, it's books. And I found a book that I used to attend. My parents used to take me to author signings when I was a
Oh,
kid.
cool.
I have a lot of signed books by authors, which is really cool. And I found one. It was like a young adult novel um, from I think it was like it was literally like 1989 or something like that. And
Uh-huh.
I opened it up and the author had said, Jennifer, like, good luck with your writing career. I had told her back then that I wanted to be an author. And I found another book where, so I guess I was telling everybody I wanted to be an author when I was like 8 or 9 or whatever. And I was just blown away by that. I don't remember doing that. But
Yeah.
now I want to reach out to those people and show them and be like, yeah, it came true.
You should. Oh my gosh, how cool. Like
Yes.
what a great treasure to hold on to.
Yes.
So then when it came time for college, where and what did you end up studying and doing? Did you go into, maybe English or something to do with writing, or was it something completely, different?
So funny enough, I had never taken a writing class. I did eventually, but I did not study. I went on a detour. I majored in theater at USC
Okay.
because when I was in high school, I started doing plays and I loved it. And so I was a theater major and a French minor, and I did not take one writing class in college. So, but my college experience was pretty amazing because I feel like everything I learned from my theater degree helps me with my YouTube channel.
Mm.
And then also, my study abroad experience at USC was what I wrote the Madame Chic books about.
Oh,
So if I had never gone to college and studied abroad, I wouldn't have written those books. But I never took a writing class. I didn't take one until I was 27 years old.
wow. Okay.
Yes. So I was newly married, and um, the call to write again came back to me.
Mm,
And I had spent my 20s acting, doing theater. I would
mm.
teach theater. I did a lot of touring and stuff, television commercials, things like that.
Cool.
And I said to my husband, I said, I want to take a writing class. And it was kind of, I mean, back then it was kind of an expensive class.
Mm.
It was like $700 or something like that, where it
Yeah.
was kind of like, okay, this is random. But, my husband's very supportive and he was like, go ahead. And so I took the class and it was called the LA Writers Lab with Alan Watt. And
Okay.
I something happened. And I started from then on just writing every single day. I actually wrote a mystery novel, which is what I wanted to be a mystery author.
Okay,
I don't know how I
interesting.
ended up where I am, but I'm not a mystery author, but I do want
Yeah.
to return to that one day. So I wrote a mystery novel and then I wrote Lessons from Madame Chic, like something. That class was amazing. My teacher is called Alan Watt and he still teaches today. So I just wanted to
Oh,
put that
good
out
to
there.
know. Yeah, we'll have to look him up. So then tell me about, so you take this class, you find a love for writing again, and talk a little bit about the Madame Chic series, because I know a little bit about it just from hearing you talk at Hoffman Media, but I find it so interesting. And why did you want to write those books? Like what kind of pulled you to telling that story?
Well, initially it was because I couldn't publish my mystery. Nobody
Mm.
nobody wanted my mystery. So I was like, all right, I need to shift gears here. And I had this amazing, real life experience from when I
Uh-huh.
lived in Paris. And I felt the need to tell my story. Coincidentally, well, at the same time I was having my first child. So I was pregnant with my first child. I had a blog called the Daily Connoisseur, and
Mhm.
I was afraid that once I had a baby that I would just stop writing because I'd be overwhelmed. So I created a series called The Top 20 Things I Learned While Living in Paris. And I wrote 20 articles on the blog, and I had them scheduled to publish over 6 months so that I could just not, I could have 6 months with my baby and just
Uh-huh.
relax, but still not lose my blog audience. But the series became so popular and people like loved my stories, and I had so many more stories to tell that I was like, you know what, this is a book. So I wrote
Mm.
Lessons from Madame Chic about my experience living with the French family in Paris, and so that's why.
I love that. Okay, so back up a little bit. When did you start your blog then? Like what year was that? Was that when blogging was, it was so much easier to grow when people were following blogs, kind of like how we do on Instagram these days?
Yes, I feel like blogging was new.
Mhm.
Well, it was about 2008 when I started. I
Okay.
can't remember when blogging.
Yeah, I feel like that was the heyday of it. Yeah.
Yes, and so a few years old, and so I started it in 2008 to keep hold myself accountable to writing, because now I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a writer now, and so I loved it. That was back in the day. It was so different, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wrote from the heart, put it all out there, and it was just the beginning of something very special back
Mhm.
then.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I feel like, a lot of people turn to blogs back in those days as sort of a creative release and a way to, share their story, get creative, connect with others because you could back then follow blogs similar to how you'd follow Instagram. And you'd wake up. I remember I'd wake up in college and have all of my blogs bookmarked on my laptop, and then, read the ones that I loved. So it was a great time. I just talked about this with someone else recently, and I'm like, I miss those days of blogging where it just was so natural and fun.
Oh, yes, and it wasn't really, inundated with commercialism or anything. It was rough. It wasn't,
Yeah.
like, polished. It was,
Yes.
it was like an unedited picture from my phone that I somehow managed to upload, and people I didn't tell anybody that I knew about my blog, like, n my family didn't know, so it was
Hmm.
genuine people who had found it and who liked the similar content, and it was a
Hmm.
wonderful community. It was amazing.
Definitely. Okay. So the series did really well then on your blog. And so then you decide to write a book. Now, tell me a little bit about those first steps in writing your first book. Obviously, you had the experience from taking a writing class, but I think taking a writing class and getting a book published are completely different, right? So, how did you know how to navigate that world, and kind of what was that journey like for you?
Well, writing lessons from Madame Chic was like one of the easiest experiences I've ever had, because and that's when the book is right and it flows. It's like just it every day I would just sit down and it would flow, and it was so fun for me to write. There was no tension. Like, I loved writing that book.
Hmm.
And I found it to be very easy and very much, I was very optimistic, like I was with my mystery, and thought people are going to love this book. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be snapped up by the publishers. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I could not, I wrote the whole book, no problem.
Hmm.
But then I was trying to get a literary agent and I could not get an agent. I mean,
Hmm.
between that and my mystery, I sent out to like 50 agents. Nobody,
Wow.
there was like one who was kind of interested.
Yeah.
But then she told me that Inez de la Fressage's book, Parisian Chic, was coming out and mine was too
Oh.
similar.
Mm.
Mine's not similar at all. Like, there's room for
No.
both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I have a very Pollyanna attitude, and then nothing will get me down. Like, if you tell me no, that's fine. Thank you very much. And I will go like do it another way. So
Yeah.
thankfully I have that attitude. So I decided to self-publish my book. This was in
Okay.
2011.
Mhm.
Again, self-publishing was new at the time too,
Yeah.
like all new, right? So that's when I decided to self-publish. I also decided to start my YouTube channel because I
Okay.
said I have to market my book. People aren't going to know about it. So I started my YouTube channel in
Smart.
2011, 6 months before publishing my book, with the intent of marketing my book on YouTube. And that was a good move because it worked, and it was selling so well on Amazon, and it really
Uh-huh.
caught the attention of some big outlets like CNN and a lot of syndicated papers. So it was getting publicity.
Mhm.
And then in like April, I believe, or March or April of the following year, 2012, a reader sent me a comment and said, "Oh, I just read your review in the New York Times." And I was like, "What?" And I go on the online, and the New York Times had written a positive review of my
Oh my
book. And I checked my email, and Liesl Schillinger, who wrote the article, she emailed me and she said, "Jennifer, I just want to let you know that I reviewed your book in the New York Times. Because it was self-published, I couldn't let you know I was doing it." She also said that she believed that my book was the first self-published book to ever be reviewed in the New York Times.
oh my
Anyway, I
gosh.
was like, "What?" My world was just, it was so exciting for me.
Yes.
And right after that article, my inbox was full of offers from literary agents and publishers who wanted to publish the
Of
book. And I'm like,
course, then.
now
Yeah.
you want it, you know what I mean? Um, but it all worked out. It was so much better that way than if I had kind of gone with someone immediately and it got mid attention.
Yes.
So anyway, so I signed with my wonderful agent who I'm still with at Trident
Okay.
Media, and it was in a bidding war between Simon and Schuster and Penguin, and
Okay.
we went with Simon and Schuster, and they took it off sale for 6 months, which was hard because the momentum was so strong at that point. But then they
Yeah.
reissued it that year, and it was great. And I wrote 2 more books in the series, and those were New York Times bestsellers. It was just like a wonderful, like, underdog story, you know.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. I did not know all the background to that journey, and it's so inspiring. I think having that the resiliency to keep going, even when doors are shut, and just finding your own way. And you did it your way. You did it on your own, which is so fulfilling. I'm sure, looking back at.
It was, and I realized that even though there was heartache, like every time I got rejected, it was hard. I
Yeah.
still get rejected today, right? And it's still hard. But I had to remind myself that the way that it happened was better than anything I could have ever planned. And
Yes.
it was so much better that it happened that way. So I always tell myself that if I'm going through a difficult period in my life where I'm like being rejected and things
Mhm.
are seemingly going
Mhm.
wrong, it will
Yep.
all work out, it'll be
In the
fine.
end, yep, there's a reason for it. So I think one of the things you mentioned, that I think is so smart, that you realized you needed to create an audience then to want to buy this book. So you started your YouTube series. So can you dive a little bit more into that, because you have a very substantial following there? When you launched it, kind of, were you creating the same types of videos as you are now, or did it sort of change and evolve into that? And sort of, how did you grow this following? Because anyone can create a YouTube channel, or create a podcast, or create an Instagram account, but getting people to follow and engage and creating community is different.
Yes. So there was a lot of fumbling around in the dark back in those days,
Hmm.
because now I feel like I understand YouTube after being on it for so long. But in the beginning, it was not it, to me. I thought of YouTube as just a way to market my book. I was not a YouTuber. It was like, back then it was embarrassing. Like, if you told people you did YouTube, I never told anybody I did it. Um, but I initially, what I still had my blog back then. So it was kind of a weird balance in the beginning of like, what do I do? But I thought the best way to market my book is to talk about one small concept from it in a video. And then at the end say, by the way, I wrote a book, and then, leave it linked down below.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I like, my first video was how to tie a scarf,
Oh, cool.
and I showed how to tie a scarf, and then, I would link, or I just wanted to build the audience of people who were interested in style and all of
Hmm.
that. So I would take little chunks from my book, and I would talk about them and mention the book. And it was kind of just that for a very long time. And because I had a large blog following, those people naturally came over to my channel, my YouTube channel.
Yep.
So right away, I didn't struggle with like 0 subscribers for a few years like some people do.
Yep.
I did. So, but having said that, I was on YouTube for years, and I can't remember exactly. I had like 30,000 subscribers for
Okay.
like 7 years or something. Like, it didn't grow. And I was seeing people who started when I did, and they had like 500,000 subscribers,
Mm.
1 million subscribers. I was like,
Mhm.
what is going on? Like, why is this so stagnant? And it was because I wasn't really treating YouTube as its own art. And I was thinking about it all wrong. I was like, I'm not a YouTuber, I'm an author. This is just to market my books. I wasn't pouring into YouTube. Like I wasn't even
Yeah.
creating thumbnails.
Okay.
I was like low effort, okay? So anyway, and YouTube was so much work. I mean, YouTube is so much work. People
Yes.
don't. I think they open up a video and they see someone baking cookies and they're like, that is so easy. It is not easy. It is
No.
like a 200-step process for every video, you know?
Yep.
Um, so I was frustrated with YouTube. My audience wasn't growing. I wasn't making any money on YouTube. I was like,
Mhm.
to be candid, I was making like $200 a month or something on
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah. It was like more you were paying YouTube essentially then,
I
right?
was, and I was like, I am not continuing this unless I figure something out here because it's just not working.
Yeah.
So I started watching videos on how to improve my channel
Okay.
and what I could do. I mean, I spent like a year studying the art of YouTube, and it worked. Like my channel, I just, you just improve every single day, improve the sound, the video, the content, the scripting, the
Mhm.
titles, the thumbnails. I now work with an editor. So after all that, then my videos just started getting better, and I wasn't putting effort into it. It was my fault. So
Yep.
now
Yep.
it's doing well. I still would like to continue to reach more people, and I'm still always trying to improve. So that's YouTube.
No, I love that, and I like I said, I think the reason for starting it was so smart, and I always tell people that, like, I think everyone with a brand should have an Instagram account besides even the brand's Instagram account, but showing you as a maker, as a designer, and same thing with YouTube. Like, I think it's so important to use these free tools essentially for marketing, and even college students. I speak a lot to college students, and I always recommend to them, like, don't just post going out to the bars on Instagram. Like, use it as a portfolio essentially to like show what you can do. So I think starting a YouTube channel is great advice there. Now, let's talk a little bit about your newest book, how that came to be, what people can find in it. I have a copy here with me, and first of all, I love the illustrations, and I love how there's lessons, and then there's like almost like a workbook to it with spots that you can write in and do the recommendations that you suggest in the book. So tell us about it.
Yes. So this book, like Lessons from Madame Chic, was very easy for me to write. I'm so passionate about the subject of living well at home. I am a homebody. I'm an introvert. Like the home is my world. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. And fine tuning life at home is just one of my great joys. So it was really fun to write this book.
Mhm.
Something special about this book is that it's published by Hoffman Media's 83 Press. And I'm sure everybody already knows who they are, but they produce Victoria Magazine, which is my favorite magazine. And I have a long history with them and reading that. And so this experience publishing this book with them was incredible because while the some of the bigger publishing houses I've been with are also, it's amazing and an honor to be published by them. With Hoffman, I was working on this every step of the way. I had so much input on this book,
Mhm.
and it really was such a collaborative process that this is the book that has the most of me in it because
Oh,
they
wow.
actually care that much about me as an artist and a
Yeah.
writer. And that was great. And I love everybody there. So that was amazing. And Alice Tate did the illustrations,
Okay.
and they said to me, who do you want to work with? And for the illustrator, I mean, this is amazing because typically it's like they tell me who's doing it, and it's always
Yes.
been great, but I was like, wow, I can choose. So Alice Tate is a dear friend of mine. She lives in the UK, and I
Okay.
found her when I was buying my coronation merch when I was in England. She did the coronation merch. um, and she's so talented. So, we did everything from, the cover. We worked on the cover, and I don't know if people have seen, but there's a little vacuum in the cover.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I added that vacuum there because I thought, you know what is this? What is our hero doing on the cover? She's having a cup of tea and reading a book. Why? Because she was just vacuuming up. And it's like the whole essence of the book is, yes, we have to do things like vacuum our floors and tidy up and cook, but we
Yeah.
also need to live beautifully and take care of ourselves by enjoying a good book and having a cup of tea. So anyway, it just the artwork, the whole process was just so much fun for me. Really a
Yes.
joy.
I mean, the cover is so beautiful. I love, like, even looking at the bookshelf, there's so many details. Like, there's a little butterfly on here. It's so beautiful. So the book is broken up into a few sections, I know. And, some of the things in here you'll find are tips for creating a schedule to clean your house, some recipes, even. I love the little illustrations of all the important homes throughout your life in here too. But what are the sections in here so that people know?
So the three sections, the first one is function, because I feel like if we're going to live well at home, we got to get the basics right, like the foundation, the method, and the
Mhm,
order, as I like to say it,
mhm,
of running a beautiful home. So, and that's all the stuff that nobody likes usually and wants to think about, like the cleaning routines, whether you do the cleaning yourself or you have housekeepers, like you still have to think about this,
mhm,
and have a system in place. So it's the function of just the mechanics of living well at home. And then the second part is about beauty. And
mhm.
that's the fun part that everyone wants to jump to, right? That's
Yes.
decorating the home and making everything beautiful and dining well. And even I love talking about dressing well at home and how we dress. And that's important too. It's how we exist in our own homes. Um, sorry. And then I think, and then the third one, this was one of my favorites. This was inspiration. And I think one of my favorite things I do in my career is take
Mhm,
inspiration from places I visited. Like the entire Madame Chic series was inspiration from Paris. And so this doesn't focus on Paris, but it focuses on a lot of lesser known stories from my life, like even my childhood home, homes that I visited, my grandmother's home, and also different countries that I've traveled to. I
mhm.
love taking uh, just interesting lessons from where I've traveled to and applying what I've learned to my life here in California. So that's what the third section is about.
No, it's so great. I Some of my favorite takeaways. I love the schedule for cleaning because, I clean my house. We all have to, like you said, but I don't really have a schedule. And I like how this suggested, maybe do the laundry on these days, maybe vacuum these days. Like, I kind of just do it once a week, like when I find the time or I need to. And like, it would be so much easier if I broke it up, though, like you mentioned in the book.
Yes, and I struggle with this too, honestly, even though I wrote it. Like I'd go back and forth because sometimes, like right now, I've just been in such a busy season. I know you are too,
Yeah.
just with work and traveling and things. And so sometimes you have to adjust. And I do write about survival mode cleaning routines in the book because whether some people have a new baby or a new puppy or they start a
Mhm.
new job and you just can't do the routine.
Yeah.
And so for that, it is good to just, when you have time, just do it and know that you'll get back to it. But it is nice to just know, okay, today is the day I do the sheets and
Yeah.
it doesn't change. And then you won't go behind if you or get behind if you do that.
Yes, 1,000%. And then in here too, I noticed you mentioned making time for your hobbies or kind of like what fills your cup. So I'm curious, I play mahjong with my friends once a month, and then I needlepoint. So I'd love to hear, what are some of your hobbies or some of your interests that you really enjoy?
I just want to say I want to learn mahjong. I met so many
Me too.
ladies at Gracious Living who play mahjong. I'm like,
Yes.
I've got to get on this.
Yeah. It's just like the tiles are so beautiful and fun to collect. So you need to add that to your
Oh, yeah,
list.
absolutely. So my hobbies, I love to read, and I have a big reading life. I really don't watch TV, I just read. So
Mhm.
that's huge for me. I play the piano.
Oh, yeah.
I like to write. Poetry is a big hobby of mine. And I like to garden and bake, those types of
Mhm.
things.
Mhm. Excellent. Now, what is your favorite part and what's the worst or your least favorite part about what you do, about having a YouTube series, about being an author? Like, what are the things that make you wake up every morning so excited to do it? And then what do you put off that you're like, "Oh, I really like, don't enjoy that part of it."
Yes. So I love what I do. I love
Yeah.
the content. I
Yeah.
love creating it. I never run out of ideas. I just absolutely love, you know, the content aspect of it. I love
Mhm.
writing. I love my community. I love
Mhm.
connecting with people in the comments and just hearing about them and their lives. I absolutely love that part. What
Mhm.
I don't love is all the administrative work.
Yeah.
I do even have people help me with it, but it's just, like there's like 100 emails every day. I'm not
Yeah.
exaggerating.
Yeah.
And you have to sort through them,
Mhm.
and people get mad if you don't respond or they take offense or whatever. And that is hard for me. I don't enjoy a lot of the technical aspects of the job,
Yeah.
and I was doing all the editing myself for
Mhm.
10 years on YouTube, and
Okay.
then I was like, I can't. I enjoy editing because it's a creative process,
Yeah.
but I was staying up until like midnight every night, going to bed
Wow.
at 5 or 11 or 12 at night, and or waking up at 5 a.m.
Yep.
And I was just working myself into the ground. So I hired an editor, and I've offloaded a lot of things. I don't do my own thumbnails anymore. So I need to offload a lot more. I stopped blogging. That was kind of hard because
Yeah.
it was a bit redundant because YouTube and the blog were the same thing. And I thought,
Mm.
well, they can find everything on YouTube. So
Yes.
that was a hard choice. Instead, I decided to write a monthly newsletter. So
Okay.
it's a free newsletter. If you go to jenniferlscott.com, you can find it and just enter your email. So I do write to my readers once a month,
Mhm.
and I felt
Mhm.
like that could take the place of the blog.
That's smart.
It was hard to give it up because I
Yeah.
did love blogging, but it was so much work. So,
It really is. I mean, there are just so many platforms these days. I have a blog, this podcast, which goes out on podcast platforms and YouTube. And then, I have an Instagram. Like, and I feel like people all the time are like, you should be on TikTok, you should be doing this. And it's like, you can't do it all.
no, you
You have to
can't
pick
unless
and
you have a
choose.
team of like 50 people and you're not doing it yourself, they're doing
Yes.
it. So, I totally relate to that.
Yes. So you mentioned community, and communities kind of come up a few times, I feel like, on this podcast episode. So, any tips for creating, building, and nurturing community? Because I think it can apply to listeners who have a business and are trying to create community. It can relate to influencers who are trying to create community, or people who don't have any of those and just like in their local area trying to find community or create community, right?
Mhm. Yes, I mean, I think that there is an audience for everything. So, I one piece of rejection that I would regularly get and still get actually is that what you talk about is not relevant. People are, it's a little old fashioned or
Mhm.
whatever. And I always dismiss that because I think there are a lot of people who
Mhm.
would love this, and you just have to find your tribe, as they say,
Yeah.
your kindred spirits, your people who care about the same thing that you do. And so that's why I always recommend to people, if they start a blog or a YouTube
Mhm.
channel, a lot of people make the mistake of just marketing to their own personal friends and family,
Mhm.
which they might
Mhm.
support you because they know you and love you, but
Yeah.
are they that interested in the topic? You just have to
Mhm.
find the people who are interested, and that's what I really feel. I have such an amazing community on the Daily Connoisseur because if you look under any of my videos, people write paragraphs. I mean, they
Yes.
write really detailed comments. They are engaged and they are just so lovely. And I really feel a connection to every one of them. So it's just about finding those people and fostering that relationship with them,
Mhm.
and they're so wonderful and supportive. And at the Gracious Living celebration, I got to meet so many people who
Yeah.
subscribe to the channel, and just fabulous ladies, like
Yes.
just the type of people you could be a best friend with instantly. So it just that's what it's all about, is
Mhm.
just enjoying the passion of what you have together.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I think that's a great tip and a good point is sometimes your friends that you're friends with just because maybe you have kids or maybe you grew up with them, they don't always have the same passions or interests, so you can look in other places for that, and I think attending something like Gracious Living is a great place to find that sort of kindred spirit, like we said, or your tribe. Now, with the book, I'm curious if you could pick anyone to have this book on their bookshelf, like it could be a famous person, a royal, like anyone, who would a dream be for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, Oprah, of course.
Yep,
I would love
yep.
for her to have my book. Um, I really admire, well, she's passed on, but I loved Tasha Tudor, and I really loved everything she did. So if I could bring someone back, I
Yep.
would have her. I greatly admire Alexandra Stoddard, and I think it would be neat if she read my book. And royalty, of course. So yes,
Yes.
Princess Catherine. It would be an honor if she had my book.
Oh, yes, for sure. Now, since this is the Preppy podcast, I always ask everyone, what does Preppy mean to you? So, how would you describe Preppy?
Ooh, and that's such a good question because I have such a definition of preppy in my mind, and my daughters who are, 13 and 15, it means
Yeah,
something different to them. We got into arguments about
totally.
this. But preppy to me is stylish, curated, and individualized.
Yep. Yep. That's a great answer. And it is so funny. The younger generation thinks preppy is a completely different thing
Yes.
than
I was
what
like,
all of us do.
what?
Definitely. What's a goal or a hope or dream that you have for 2026?
Hmm. I am working on something new that I don't really want to talk about because I don't talk about my book projects before they're
Yeah.
out in the world, but I would love to complete my next book project.
Okay.
And I would love to increase the reach on my YouTube channel. I'd like to, you know, grow the community there. That's a major goal of mine. And
Mhm.
also on a personal level, I would like to work less and develop my high quality leisure activities more. So I want
Mhm.
to find a good work life balance with
Mhm.
work, but also not working so much and
Yep.
enjoying life a little bit more.
Yes, that balance is always so hard to find. I feel like everyone struggles with it. Um, And now I enjoy watching your YouTube channel where you're sharing tips and recipes, and then also just some of your favorite finds. I was watching one the other day with some gorgeous pearl jewelry. What's something that you're like eyeing or buying recently or enjoying right now?
Mm. It's funny. I don't. Oh my gosh. I just bought a not leather, I'm sorry, leopard
Ooh,
jacket from, who's it from? It was by Marine Layer. And this was a jacket that I have wanted a jacket like this for like a decade.
yeah.
And I opened up the catalog and I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, it's kind of puffy.
Ooh.
Obviously it's faux, but it's
Uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
leopard and it's kind of cropped and I'm obsessed with it. I
Oh my
just
gosh.
love it so much. So that was the first thing that came to mind because it
Yeah.
was one of those things that I've wanted. And when you know what I mean, when
Mhm.
you see it in a catalog and you think
Yeah, and
that
you're
is
like,
it. That's been
yes.
my favorite find for sure lately.
Oh, that's a good one. We're gonna have to add the link for people then. But it's funny. I recently got something from Marine Layer too, and I'd never heard of them before. And then randomly, I think I got served an ad, or maybe the catalog came, and I found this great like pant with a matching polo. And I was like, this is perfect. I love it.
They are so good. I love their
Yes.
stuff.
Now, any lasting piece of advice or a resource that you can share with listeners before we wrap up?
Mm. My lasting piece of advice would be to never let go of your hobbies. And I think it was Virginia Woolf who said, if you lose your leisure, watch out because that means you're losing your life. Or she said something
Mm.
like that. But
Yes.
I really love to encourage women because we're so busy with everything, doing all that we do, to not lose our hobbies. And it's like I love hearing about your mahjong and needlepoint. And every woman has a few things that she loves to do, and a lot of us put it on the back burner while we take care of our families or we work or
Mhm.
whatever. And
Mhm.
it is so critically important that we do not lose that part of ourselves. So that's my lasting piece of advice.
That is a great tip there. And I think you can find time. Like I love my needlepoint because when I'm on a plane, I can bring it. And even if I'm just stitching for like a short plane ride, or if I'm waiting for the doctors at the doctor's office and I'm stitching, if you can find a hobby that like you can bring places with you, it makes it a little easier too.
Absolutely.
Finally, where can people find you? Let them know social media, newsletter sign up, website, where they can buy the book, any of that, so that they can support you, they can follow along and get a copy of this.
Yes. So my author website is jenniferlscott.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter there and learn more about the books. On YouTube, my channel is called The Daily Connoisseur. And on Instagram, my handle is at Daily Connoisseur. So that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I really enjoyed our chat today.
I did too. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.